Get the latest lacrosse news and updates in the Lax World Lacrosse Report. Updated daily with Lax news, info, and blogs only at PressBoxOnline.com. And welcome back to Inside PressBox. And that's right, it's lacrosse time. And joining me right now is PressBox writer and blogger Todd McElwee. And we welcome you, Todd. And apropos to that last bump about the lacrosse report brought to you by Lax World, you're going to be doing most of the editorial content on that. What is this season shaping up like in your estimation?
It's hard to say. It's so wide open. There have never been so many good players spread across the country. I put in my blog a couple of weeks ago, well, 2 weeks ago, that I have Denver as my national champion. And
that would have been unthinkable 5 years ago.
Even 3 years ago, that you would have picked 3 or 4 different schools who could even make the finals, if not win it. But you had Notre Dame the other year. Denver was a Final Four team last year. The sport has just exploded. It's so wide open now.
And you know what's interesting about that explosion of big name schools like a Notre Dame and a Denver? What it's done is the talent base is watered down to the point, and I mean watered down in a good way, that schools like Albany and Hartford can really contend to make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, you have schools like Stony Brook's been a contender the past few years. As you said, Hartford was a very good team last year and it's going to be good this year. Fairfield's an excellent team. Hofstra's been a traditional power but is still growing. And new schools are added every day. Boston University just announced they were giving varsity lacrosse a go in, I think, 2013 or 14. Michigan just played their first varsity game. Ohio State's grabbing a lot of kids from the East Coast.
And they're playing at Loyola this year.
Yes, they're on the same conference, the ECAC. It's one of those new national conferences that stretches from Denver to Loyola. It has Air Force in it. Loyola's head coach, Charlie Toomey, told me the other week that he doesn't know what's tougher, the conference or the travel, going all over the country.
Tell me a little bit about, there's 2 new coaches in the local scene. Richie Meade is out after a long run at Navy.
Very successful run.
Very successful run, and I'm a big Richie Meade fan. And Tony Seaman, legendary name in lacrosse at Princeton, Hopkins, and Towson, is out after a long time. Sean Nadlin takes over there, and after much searching, Navy settled on Stony Brook's Rich Soule. So tell us a little bit about those 2 programs.
Soule really did a great job at Stony Brook. He turned them into a perennial NCAA tournament contender. I mean, they didn't make a Final Four or anything like that, but they were a very competitive team, always right there. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with, and that league is murderous. The Patriot League is really tough. Even schools like Army, who beat Syracuse 2 years ago in the tournament, can play with anybody in the country. Nadelin's a great choice for Towson. He's a Hopkins guy. He played for the Bayhawks, a former U.S. team member, and they're going to be really good on defense. I don't know about offense yet, and they did give up 10 goals to Jacksonville last weekend, but they have a 5th-year senior in goal, and he's one of the best long stick middies ever to play and has been Towson's defensive coordinator in essence for the past few years. So that was a very good hire.
Now, we know UMBC has legendary coach, and I use that term not loosely at all, Don Zimmerman, great coach, but has trouble getting the top kids there. But tell us a little bit about Hopkins and tell us a little bit about John Tillman's crew down at Maryland this year.
Tillman has one of the best freshman classes coming in. He's loaded from top to bottom. They have a great face-off man in Curtis Holmes, who, if you can get that going, you can win any game. Their goaltender, Nico Amato, is good. Couple of good attackmen, a very good Minnie and Joe Cummings. Hopkins might have the most balance of anybody in the sport.
And they've got that left-handed goaltender from where, Texas?
Pierce Bassett, he's from Arizona.
Arizona, right.
Yeah, he's
good. He's interesting.
He's very good. And I've spoken with him a couple of times. He's a very quiet, unassuming kid, but when you speak with one of his defenders, he takes charge out on the field. And if he has a big year, they have to be considered one of the favorites.
All right. You've said already you picked Denver to be your national champion. If you can give us a quick Final Four that you think, of course it'll depend who plays who, but
you don't
know who's playing. But
I have UVA, who's number 1, in the blog right now just because they're the defending national champions and they have Steele Stanwyck, arguably the best player in the sport, Loyola Blakefield graduate. I have Cornell, who has Rob Pennell, the leading scorer from last year. Hopkins, just because of all their balance, and Dave Petromalis, one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the sport.
But and then Bill Tierney.
And then, Bill Tierney in Denver.
Real quick, we're under a minute, but Bill Tierney, when he left for Denver, not only has he changed the power a little bit by making Denver now perhaps a perennial contender, but Princeton has gradually slid just a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I remember growing up the mid-90s, early 2000s, Princeton was the team that you either loved or hated because they always were in the national title game. I saw him play Maryland at Maryland one time, throttled them. And Tierney's just a great coach. He's almost like Bill Parcells. Wherever he goes, he's going to win. He has that winning formula.
All right. He's Todd McElwee, and we appreciate your being in. Stay tuned, and I'm going to continue. Actually, we're going to have more with Todd McElwee. I screwed up a little bit here. I don't do that often, but we're going to continue with Todd McElwee and talk a little bit more about his blog on PressBoxOnline.com. Inside PressBox is presented by Freedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Freedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.